Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. So happy to have some time with you today on this Wednesday. I know, like many of us, it was a holiday weekend and right prior, and coming back Tuesday always feels like Monday, and then the rest of the week feels off too, which is not uncommon. But we hope everyone had a restful, relaxing holiday weekend. Hopefully it felt a little bit more normal than last year, but still, hopefully you were safe. And, we're so grateful to be together today for this conversation. This is something that I've been, wanting to host and share with you. So this is a tremendous opportunity today. As you all know, our mission, a good portion of our mission is focused on eliminating racism. And unfortunately, in our communities, bias crimes and incidents have been popping up more and more. And, we at the YWCA are working with a few local communities. We get calls when these things happen. And I wanted to make sure that everyone around Bergen County, as well as other counties, obviously we serve more than just Bergen County. It's good for you to know wherever you are, because there's similar setup in every county for you, an opportunity for you to have support if you are impacted by a bias crime or an incident. We wanted you to know what resources are out there. We wanted you to know how to report these crimes. And we wanted you to know why it's important to report these crimes. We understand the hesitation, but we wanted to talk through that today. And we have a perfect guest to do that with. Thank you so much to Prosecutor Adoni, who is the assistant Bergen County prosecutor, who is with the office and she's also the chief of the Bias Crimes Unit, and she's joining us today. She focuses on this work every single day at the prosecutor's office here in Bergen County in her assistant prosecutor role, and we're so lucky to have her as chief. And we're going to talk with her. But before we jump into the details about our topic today, I want to tell you a little bit about her background. She received her JD from Benjamin and Cardozo School of Law. After graduating, she joined Queens County District Attorney's Office as their assistant district attorney in the Appeals Bureau. In 2006, she joined the Rockland County District Attorney's Office, where she also served as an assistant district attorney in the Appeals Bureau. And then in 2008, she came to Bergen County and joined the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office, where she has been serving as an assistant prosecutor. At the office here in Bergen County, she's currently assigned to the trial section, where she handles post-indictment cases. She also has a designation of the chief of the Bias Crimes Unit, where she handles cases from their inception. In her capacity as the chief of this unit, she teaches bias intimidation, statute to prosecutors, police officers, and community members. So welcome, Prosecutor Adoni. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And so for those of us out there in Facebook land who are not aware, we have had over these last few years, the last few prosecutors we've had have really changed the relationship that the prosecutor's office is trying to have with the community. Historically, it's been one of those relationships with law enforcement that someone does something wrong and then they get introduced to law enforcement. What we've seen with the last two prosecutors, starting with our soon-to-be former Attorney General here in New Jersey, going on to the SEC Commission, but when Attorney General Graywall was with us, he really flipped the relationship that he wanted the office to have with the community. And Prosecutor Mazzella has really kept that track of really creating a positive, preventative relationships and understanding of the office, their work, and that people really get the resources and, don't just connect to the office when there's a problem. And so I really appreciate that about the shift in the work at the prosecutor's office and that relationship with the community. And so we have some wonderful community outreach departments and team members, and really the mindset has changed, all around the office. So I really appreciate the work that you are doing, Assistant Prosecutor Adoni, how you're out in the community now educating people more around issues as office holistically, but specifically in this area. It really, it's different, right? It's a different mentality.
Absolutely. I think it changes, it helps the community understand what we're doing. It helps the community understand what it is we're dealing with, and also what action they should take as the community, as residents of the community, and as victims or witnesses. Absolutely.
I agree. So let's talk a little bit. Let's start and talk a little bit about the differences between criminal and non-criminal bias acts, because people in the community may not understand that there is a difference between them.
Right. So a lot of times, and that's how it started, going out to the community and specifically about bias crimes and bias incidents. We got questions from the community as to why certain bias incidents don't get prosecuted criminally. And that's when we felt the need to go out and explain and educate people as to the differences. So a bias incident is any type of act, any type of behavior, any type of gesture that is bias motivated, that is derogatory, that is motivated by some sort of a bias against a member of a protected class. So let me start by saying that who are the members of the protected class? Members of a protected class, we have 9 of them, and they are race, color, religion, gender, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, national origin, or ethnicity. These are the 9 protected classes that are in our criminal statutes. They're also in the law against discrimination. And any type of act, any type of behavior that is motivated by bias is considered a bias incident. So then the question is, what is a bias crime? A bias crime is an actual criminal offense, an act that is criminal, that is directed, that is committed against a member of a protected class. And it is motivated by bias. So, for example, I think that the use of examples really illustrates the differences. Mm-hmm. If someone is standing at a street corner and protesting, for example, legally protesting against some political idea or for a political idea, and they are standing in a street corner, in the course of protesting, they're using racial slurs, or they're using derogatory language against a particular religion, or they are mocking the disabled. That is a bias incident. There is nothing criminal about it. They are standing on the street corner and they are exercising their freedom of speech. And as long as they don't incite violence, a riot, as long as they don't harass anyone, they are expressing their hateful ideas, yes, and they're hateful because people are allowed to hate. However, they're not committing a crime. If, on the other hand, that would be a bias incident. Mm-hmm. If, on the other hand, the people who protest or the same person who stands in the street corner now harasses individuals or targets them by assaulting them or inciting to violence, and they're doing so with a bias motive against a member of a protected class, now they are crossing over to the bias intimidation criminal world. Now they're committing a crime. So in order to commit a bias crime, you must have an underlying criminal offense. For example, assault, burglary, possession of a weapon, harassment. You have to have an underlying offense that is defined in our criminal statute. And that underlying offense, when it's committed, has to be committed with a bias motive against a member of a protected class. So when we get questions from the community as to why someone who's yelling racial slurs on a street corner, why they're not arrested, the answer is because people have freedom of speech rights and they're allowed to express their hateful ideas. Just like people are allowed to be members in a Ku Klux Klan organizations, and people who are allowed to express their hateful ideas about a certain political parties, not a protected class, but people have freedom of speech rights. And we, the prosecutor's office, law enforcement, cannot prosecute people for their hateful ideas. And so that's why when we go out to the community, we explain the differences.
So again, the focus really is the acts, not the ideas, because
Correct.
The ideas, again, not something that, we support or promote, but nonetheless, again, as you shared, it's a protected right, in our country, but it's the act that is where you intercede and can get involved and really start to evaluate a situation.
Correct. The acts could be speech, depending what do you do with the speech. So if someone is standing in the street corner and protests, but then let's say they protest against the disabled or against Asians or against African Americans or against Jews or Muslims, and let's say one of those individuals passes and goes to work every day, and now that individual who's a member of a protected class is being harassed every day by the very person who's protesting. If that person is harassed, then now we're talking about act, even though it's just speach.
Right.
The speech is now becoming an act that is violating the law, and that would be protected under our laws. That would be harassment. So yes.
So I appreciate that distinction, and hopefully, our viewers, also can understand it better now, because I know. Look, this isn't anything new. This is something that has been going on for some time. I have to say, it does feel like that we have seen an uptick in the numbers. And I don't know if it's, it definitely seems since maybe the George Floyd, killing, that's where we've seen it, when we actually started to see, but it seems like over this last year, we've definitely seen an uptick in numbers. I know in our organization, we've received a lot of outreach from communities that are experiencing, individual issues of, racism or acts, and, asking us to help communities heal and, learn from them and move forward. One of the things I always ask when we get the outreach, though, is have you contacted your department from the prosecutor's office? And there often seems hesitation to do that, right? And I think, and so I wanted that, again, was part of the reason I wanted to invite you on to talk today. I know, so let me start by asking, have you seen an increase? Have we seen an increase locally in these acts?
Yes, well, we see absolutely, we've seen an increase in the last couple of years, but the increase is due to, two reasons. One of them, there is an increase, yes. And that has a lot to do with what's happening in our country. And, George Floyd, we've seen in, the Black Lives Matter movement, we've seen increase, around those events. Also, COVID-19, we've seen increase against Asian Americans and Asians in general. So every time there is something happening, you see an increase against members of minority. Now, that is one reason, but also another reason for an increase is, as you stated earlier, our Attorney General, Gabriel Graywall, who's, not only has increased efforts to reach out to the community, but he's also reformed the guidelines, the bias incident guidelines. And we have new guidelines as of 2019. And those guidelines mandate reporting by all law enforcement, all police departments. And now the reporting is much more I should say, there's much more attention being given to reporting. There is encouragement of reporting. We not only encourage the community to report, but we mandate on police departments to take those reports and now report it to the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office, to the Attorney General, to New Jersey State Police. And all these are the three agencies. We receive reports on a daily basis of all the bias incidents that occur in the state of New Jersey. And so not only is there going out to the community, encouraging everybody to report, also there is now an obligation by the police department to report those to the agencies. So that is also shows an increase, because unlike a few years ago, the focus was not on reporting.
Right.
There have been reports taking place, but not like now. And so the increase is really due to both of these factors. And yes, we see the numbers going up against, of bias incidents against the Asian community, the Black community, the Jewish community, the gay community. And it has a lot to do with what is happening politically. And I can say that when one member of protected class is targeted, generally it spills over to other minorities. And it happens, even though, let's say, COVID-19, there was an elevated numbers on against Asian Americans. You see Jews are targeted as well. You see gays are targeted, transgenders. So it generally, when I examine it, when I look at it, you see that it really does spill over to other members of the minority groups.
So so thank you for making that distinction. And yes, so it's a combination of policy change, that has impacted the numbers, as well as, just incidents that are happening around us that are, bringing more. Again, as you shared, the AAPI community has really been impacted by COVID. Anti-Semitism, is definitely, we see, on the rise. Our LGBTQ plus communities, have really experienced a lot of challenges over this time, as well as obviously our Black and Brown communities. So we have people living in Bergen County, and something has occurred, and they, don't know what to do about it. Can you walk us through the process of what they should do when something has occurred that they feel is a bias act?
Sure. So if you are a victim or you're a witness to a bias incident, and I would say you don't have to make a decision on your own. Is this a bias incident? Is this a bias crime? What we say is, if you're a witness to any type of bias incident, whether it is a non-criminal incident, if you have doubt, if you're not sure, the first thing you should do is you should report it. You should report it. You have three options. We say report it to your local police department, number one. Either by making a phone call, by going to the local police department, report the incident. Let the police department take it from there. Let them report it. Let them. Excuse me, I had at the door, somebody at the door. Let the police department take it from there. Let them investigate it. Let them go out to the scene. They will take care of it. Now, if you have any hesitation as to whether to go to the police department, let's say you don't feel comfortable as a victim or as a witness, what you should do is you can call an 800 number, and you can do so anonymously. You can report a bias incident anonymously without giving your name. And the number is 1-800-277-BIAS, 1-800-277-2427.
And for our viewers, we have that up on the screen for you now. We have it in the comments. We also have some links that you can go to as well that will help you with this reporting.
Yes, and this is the the New Jersey Bias. This is our office in the Attorney General, and they will take your bias complaint. Also, if you want to report it without talking to anyone and you want to report it anonymously, you can also report it on bias.njcivilrights.gov. And also the link, which I gave you earlier, you can log in and You can report the details of the incident. You can, give as much details. I think the more details you give, the better we are equipped to look into it and investigate and take it from there. But we encourage you to make that report and don't get bogged down on, is this freedom of speech? Is this a bias crime? What do I do? If you hear racial slurs, if you hear bias, derogatory words, if you hear anything of that nature that targets members of a protected class, the best thing to do is report it. And you have 3 ways of doing so. And I think that that will go a long way in protecting our community.
Well, thank you for walking us through that. And again, for our viewers, we have the links here in the comments. It's flashing on the screen so you can see the website that you can go to, as well as the 800 number. There's no charge to call to be able to make a report, as Assistant Prosecutor Adoni is directing us. So we know how to make a report if something happens. So let's talk about the fear that individuals who witness something or experience something go through, and that fear that maybe would translate into resistance to making a report, and thinking either it's better that I handle it myself or just not address it, or just use it to try to tell my friends and neighbors so that they understand that these things happen, but not do anything more formally about it. Because I don't know that, that's going to really be helpful, So I think those are some of the things that we hear from individuals that have, such experiences. And I know that, you'd like to see more of these incidents reported so that you can be able to address them. Can you talk a little bit to those inclinations that, people may have first as opposed to reporting?
Well, absolutely. We realize that we're very mindful of the fear that comes along with a bias incident, a bias crime. I mean, we and we are not. I would go all the way to the legislature to just illustrate to you the seriousness that is taken by our legislature and by our law enforcement community when it comes to dealing with bias crime. Our legislature, when it enacted the bias crime statute, it contemplated the harm that it causes not only to the one person, the one victim, or one witness to the bias incident. And I should say that bias incidents and bias crimes do not only harm the members of the protected class that are targeted. It harms members of the community in general, because bias crimes are message crimes. They are not committed against a person because of who the person is. They're not committed against me because I'm Bias Adoni. They're committed against me because of what I am. Am I Black? Am I brown? Am I Muslim? Am I Jewish? Am I Asian? What am I? What am I? It's not committed because of who I am. And the legislature has realized that those crimes are much more serious than any other type of crime in the books. For example, an assault, or assaults and burglaries and robberies, they're all serious crimes, but they are committed against a person, a particular victim. Here, when a bias crime is committed, it's committed against an entire community. When one African American is targeted, the entire African American community is a victim. When one Asian individual is targeted, the entire Asian community is a victim. When one Muslim or one disabled or one member of the LGBTQ community is targeted, the entire community is a victim. And we know that, and the legislature knows that, and that's why our laws, when they were enacted, the punishment is so much harsher than a regular crime. So when a person commits, for example, an assault, and the assault is bias motivated, that person is going to be punished much more harshly if he committed an assault against someone without a bias motive. And so when you're a witness, when you're a victim, think about not only what it is that you are experiencing, but also what the community that shares your characteristic is experiencing. And without reporting it, we are letting someone who can potentially harm other members and continue doing it go without being held accountable. And that's why, and we realize the sensitivity and people don't want to get involved. We realize that, but that's why we allow anonymous reporting. That's why the Attorney General encourages people, call us, let us know, give us the details. Don't tell us who you are. Give us the details. We'll take it from there, and we'll at least investigate and look into the offenders and look into holding the offenders accountable. Always bear in mind, it does not only affect one person, it affects an entire community.
Thank you for that detail. I guess one of the things that I hear a lot from when these incidents pop up in communities, and I'm thinking about the incidents we don't hear about that probably are similar, is one, I hear that it's like an anonymous note that somebody has received, maybe because of a sign that they have displayed or a flag that they have displayed, at their home. But some kind of anonymous note. So their inclination is, well, we don't know who did it. It was anonymous, so I shouldn't bother reporting it. Then the other thing I hear a lot is that it happened on social media,
Correct.
Which people say, well, it happened on social media, so there's nothing that I can do about it. That's not a place where law enforcement would take action. Can you speak to those two scenarios? Because I think that they're very common right now with these types of incidents.
Yes, so social media is probably the most, the best, not the best platforms for offenders, because they think they can hide behind an anonymous screen name or an anonymous address. But let me tell you, no, we do investigate. And when somebody receives a message over group chat, or Snapchat or any type of social media platform, and the message meets the criteria for bias incident harassment, the police department will take all necessary steps to find out who the offender is. And we get that all the time. They will draw subpoenas. They will at least make an effort. Do we succeed all the times? No, it's not that we always succeed, but we do many times succeed in finding who the offenders are. Same with a note. If you go to the supermarket and a note is left on your windshield that targets your protected class status, police department will try to find out who that person is by way of surveillance around the area. There are many investigation tools that police department will use to try to track the offenders. And to just shove it under the rug, I would say no. I would say report it. At least let the police department try to, investigate and find out who the offender. And again, I'm not saying we're always successful, but at least we try. But if you give us the opportunity to do so.
So, again, we want to make sure that everyone understands where to make a report. And you can do that at 1-800-277-BIAS, which is also 1-800-277-2427. And again, you can also report it to bias.njcivilrights.gov /en-us where there's much more information there as well if you go to that site. And there's also the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office has a great website with a lot of information, and we encourage you to follow them on social media. You may not be aware, but they have a very active social media platform where they post about different events that they're connected to in the community, both on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter. So you can follow them on any of those sites to get more information on these matters. Before we close out, Prosecutor Adoni, are there any other kind of last thoughts that you want to share with our community on this topic? Again, I know that, again, this is something that unfortunately, people are dealing with daily, incidents like this. And again, we want to have a strong response so that people understand that this isn't something that's okay to do, and that there's ramifications and severe ramifications, for these acts. And also we want our community members who are impacted, whether they are victims or witnesses to such crimes, to know what resources are available for them to give them support, because it is traumatic. It is traumatic. It's scary. And it makes you feel everything, on a continuum of emotion from anger to unsafe, and many things in between. But any other thoughts to share?
Yes, I will just say that we can only have a strong response if we know about it. You're out there in the community. We are, we're not. I mean, we are in the community to educate. We're in the community as civilians. But when we are in the office working, we can only have a strong response if we know about it. And the only way for us to know about it is if you report it. And if you report it, then we will get notified, and then we will take the proper action. And I think that for the sake of our community, for the sake of our, for our neighborhood, I think that whether you're a victim, whether you're a witness, whether you are an adult, whether you're a juvenile, report it and let somebody know. And I want to touch upon the juvenile. If you're a juvenile and you're afraid to report, you can report it to a school administrator. A school administrator knows what to do, knows who to report it to. Report it to a counselor. I encourage very much all members of the community to report, because that's the only way we can respond and respond properly and take our action and do what's necessary to bring the offenders to justice should they commit a bias intimidation crime.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and especially for reinforcing the piece about our young people. We know from so many of the rallies that have been hosted over this past year and a half, whether they're in the AAPI community or in our Black and Brown communities, that youth are experiencing, these incidents as victims, as witnesses, and they also need to know where to go to share this information. So YWTV, again, is about, educating you, and you are part of educating our community. Now that you have heard this, you have some new information. We encourage you to share it with people in your life, integrate it into a conversation that you have today. Share the link to this broadcast with any kind of organization that you're connected to, so that they know, a faith-based group, a nonprofit that you may volunteer for, that you work for, a business that you're connected to. It's a great opportunity to help spread the word about this important division of our Bergen County Prosecutor's Office and the work that they're doing. And for those of you that are outside of the Bergen County area, still important information, and this department exists everywhere in New Jersey, in every prosecutor's office. You can always call Prosecutor Adoni's department, and she will refer you to, her area can refer you to the right county, or you can call your local county prosecutor's office and connect with their department as well. So we do encourage you to spread the word. So thank you so much, Prosecutor, for sharing. There's so much great information, detail, and very direct action that people can take to help us, really, really address these terrible crimes and incidents that are happening in our community, and a much better understanding of them, for sure, from when we started our broadcast. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And for those of you watching, we hope you join us for the remainder of the week. Tomorrow, as you know, it's already Thursday. Again, short week doesn't always make it feel that way, but it's already Thursday. And Thursday, as you know, is when YWTV shares the mic with Black women in our community to amplify their voices. And I look forward to hosting Portia Johnson. She is the founder of Black Girl Health and executive director of the Black Girl Health Foundation. The YWCA of Northern New Jersey is a proud sponsor of their upcoming event that is just a few short weeks away. We're going to talk to you about their work and that event, and we hope you can join us to learn more. And on Friday, it's wonderful for you to learn about what some of the young people in our community are working on. We will have Isabel Schwartz on. She is the founder of a nonprofit called Foundation of Beauty, and at 11 a.m., come learn about the work that she is doing in her community. Upcoming initiatives, we're going to post some links here for you if you want to sign up for our writers workshops. It's focused on helping women develop their voices and share their stories. We have the wonderful Rachel Brenner and Sherry Pullum. That's a free 4-week virtual writing workshop that can help you really learn to hone in your authentic voice. We have a Friendship Friday coming up for the seniors in our community to give you information about home health care. And our Girls Leadership Academy is taking applications now for the fall, a 10-month opportunity for sophomores in high school to learn about all kinds of evidence-based opportunities, from everything from money management to self-image, as well as meeting probably more than 50 women in our community to give them some strong mentors to look up to. And it's camp time, so you can still be registering for summer camp. A day like today, you want to be jumping in the lake or canoeing. It's definitely a hot one out there. So thank you again, Prosecutor, for joining us. And we are so grateful to have you and the whole team at the Prosecutor's Office out there in the community, working in such a preventative way, as well as a responsive way when we need it. We're very lucky to have all of you, and your service. We are grateful for it. And for the rest of you, stay cool, stay well, and we will see you tomorrow. Take care. Thanks for